This is Kristen Bunch. I am the media manager for Violet Snow, and tonight I wanted to just hop on here and show you all how to make these awesome Santa sack panels into actual Santa sacks. So a little bit of background on these. So these are available on the website currently. There's 27 different prints that you can choose from, or you can print your own. You go to the print your own listing and write in the name of your favorite Violet Snow file, and then you can email a screenshot to vscf.orders@gmail.com. Or if you have your own specific print that you have that's your own, you can also get it printed as well. Just follow those same instructions. The Santa sack panels are available in 3 different bases. There's velvet, there's canvas, and there's cotton woven. So this particular one is the canvas. It's a nice heavy duty fabric. It's a woven, so it'll hold up really nicely. These are fully customizable. You can write the recipient's name down here. This one was actually a misprint, so I just went in with a little piece of canvas that I had laying around and covered it up. And the panels themselves are 20 by 60, so when you create your entire bag, they'll become 30 inches long by 40 inches wide. Next, we're going to talk about materials. So the first thing you're going to need, obviously, is your panel. Just cut down. I took the white off the top there, so it's the right size. And then you will also need a lining. So this is my lining. This is polar fleece. It's honestly just something I had enough of that was scrap from another project. So for the lining, it's going to be the same length as your Santa sack panel, and then just cut in half right in the middle. And we'll explain why once we get rolling here. So you'll need the panel, your lining, and then you will also need some kind of string, drawstring, or ribbon. So this is just a gross grain ribbon. You can pick it up from any craft store, Michael's, Joann's. It's 60 inches long. That length will take it all the way around the circumference of your Santa sack and out the side to create a bow. If you want to do something fancier and have it cinch on both sides or something, you'll probably want to double that length. But for this particular example, we're just going to go around once and do one bow. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is start putting our Santa sack together. So the first thing you want to do is take your panel and fold it in half, right sides together, so that everything is aligned. One thing I will mention about this is if you have a print that is directional, you're actually going to want to cut your panel in half and take your bottom panel and turn it 180 degrees so that it lines up with the top. It'll stop your Santa sack from having wording or an image that's upside down on the back side. So if it's directional, you're going to want to cut it and turn it to stop that from happening. This one is not directional, so I'm going to go ahead and just fold it in half. And then your next step is going to be, you're going to measure down 6 inches from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you're just going to place a pin or marking at that line. And then you're going to go down another 2 inches. So 1, 2. Place another marking. And what this is this is actually where your ribbon or your drawstring is going to go through. So you want to keep a gap there so you can see it's going to fit right in that little section there. You'll do this on both sides. So I did it here. We're going to go over here, do it on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 1, 2. All right, so you've got your measurements done here. The next thing you're going to do is go ahead and sew down to here. You'll back stitch at this first marking, jump over to here, go down, back stitch at this marking so that this is completely open and not sewn. You'll do that on both sides of your Santa sack panel. If you have a directional print, you'll sew all the way around, down the bottom and all the way up to the top, and then again back stitch here, jump, back stitch here, and go all the way up to the top. So I'm going to go do that right now, and then I'll be back with my sewn panel and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now I am back with my panel that has been sewn. So you can see there's the gaps on either side here. So once that's done, you can go ahead and set your panel aside. And the next thing we're going to do is the lining. So a few quick tips regarding the lining, especially when you're thinking about what fabrics to use. The easiest material to use for this particular design is going to be a woven, mainly because it doesn't stretch. This is specifically important for our velvet because our velvet is stretchy. You want to have that woven lining to prevent your Santa sack from stretching out once you fill it with gifts. So I would definitely recommend a woven if you have it. This fleece has a little bit of stretch, not a lot. I'm using it on the canvas because the canvas is a woven, so it won't stretch. So if you're using the cotton woven or the canvas, you could use a knit if you wanted to, but definitely for the velvet you want to use a woven. All right, so for your lining you're going to have two pieces. So this is the same size as your Santa sack panel, just cut in half. So what you're going to do is, again, right sides together, you're going to align it so that they match, and then on the bottom you are going to find the middle. So mine's a little uneven. Oh well. But you're going to find your middle and then measure about 2 to 3 inches on either side. So what this is going to be is this is going to be the gap. This is going to become your turning hole from when we get closer to the finish on this. So you want to leave a gap that's unsewn so that you can turn the bag right side out. So I'm just going to place a marking on either side here to remind me not to stop sewing when I get to this point. All right, and then you're going to do something similar to what you did on your panel. You're just going to sew all the way down, and this time you're going to go across until you get to this marking, and then you're going to jump over to your other farthest marking, and then you're going to sew all the way around to the top. So I'm going to go do that real quick, and then I will be right back. Okay, so now I'm back. I have my lining sewn. So this was sewn all the way down the side. We didn't leave that gap on the side like we did with the panel because we want it to be in between the lining and the panel. But we did leave that gap at the bottom for our turning hole for after this next step. So the next thing you want to do is take your sewn main panel, turn it right side out, and you're going to place it inside of your lining so that the lining and the panel are right sides together. Okay, so you've got your main panel on the inside, your lining on the outside, and then you're going to pin or clip all the way around the edge, and you're going to sew it completely shut on the top. In order to cut down on the time, I'm going to go ahead and clip this. I'll do a little bit and then I'll shut this off. I'll clip this along the outside and then I'm going to go sew it and then I'll be back. So let me add a few clips here just so you can see what I'm doing. I like to line up the sides first just to make sure everything stays even. And then do the middles. Okay. and then keep going until it's pretty straight. All right, I'm going to do this other side, and then I'm going to go sew it all together, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I have my main and my lining sewn together at the top all the way around. So one thing that I'll mention is if you've got any extra bulk, you can go ahead and trim it down to the seam allowance, which is 3/8. I forgot to mention that earlier, but I basically just line it up with the edge of my presser foot. But there's a little bit of bulk right here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that away. Making sure not to cut my stitches. Alright. And then the next thing you're going to do is go to that hole at the bottom of your lining. And you're going to pull your main through your lining. And then you're going to close your turning hole. So right here, I had a pretty large one. I probably didn't need to be that big, but go ahead and pin it shut and then sew it across, and so it's completely enclosed and you don't have any more openings inside the lining. So I'm going to go ahead and get this pinned and sewn, and then I'll be right back again. Okay, so now I have my turning hole completely enclosed, stitched all along the edge here and then back stitched. The next thing we're going to do is put your lining inside of your main. So just kind of stuff it in there and then try and align the bottom of the lining with the bottom of your Santa sack. Fluff it out a little bit. All right. And then there is another step. This is completely optional. For the sake of time, I'm not actually going to show it on this particular one, but if you want to, just for your own preference, if you want to, you can top stitch along this edge at the top to keep mainly just keep the lining and the main in place. Like I said, for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that, but it is an option if you choose. So trying to flatten this out a little bit more. Okay. All right, so your last step is to add your ribbon or your drawstring, whatever you decide to use. So you can do this next step using a safety pin if you want. I don't really like putting a safety pin through gross grain ribbon, so I am actually going to use what's called a purple thing. It's basically a giant plastic needle. I use it a lot for turning, but it works great for this purpose too. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to find that hole that we had made earlier, and you're going to thread your ribbon through the front side of your panel in between your main panel and the lining. And this ribbon is actually going to go all the way around your bag. So you basically just want to keep going all the way around. Here. And I'm just going to use this to try and find it again. Okay. I'm just going to pull it out of this side real quick just to get everything aligned. Okay. And then just kind of leave this other piece alone for a minute. And then you're going to thread it again over between the front and the lining, and then find the hole on the other side and thread it through that. So you can, if you want, you could have left it over here and then it would cinch on this side and you could put your bow right there on the side. But if you want the bow to be centered on top of your customization, then you want to thread it all the way over to the other side. So that you want to kind of even out your ribbon a little bit, just kind of move it around until you get it where you want it. And then all you have to do now is tie it in a bow. I'm going to cinch it together here. Alright, kind of fluff it how you want it. It'll look a lot different when there are actual gifts and things inside of it. But you just tie yourself a bow. If anyone has any good tutorials on how to make a pretty bow with gross grain ribbon, let me know. This is as good as it's going to get tonight. But tie your bow, and then there you have it. You've got your fully made Santa sack. You can also, for the gross grain ribbon, you can add some fray check to the end here just to prevent it from fraying. But other than that is the whole tutorial. I'm going to drop my link down in the comments. If you have any questions, if I missed anything that you're not sure about, just let me know and I'll do my best to answer any questions. But thank you all for watching, and I hope this was helpful. Have a good night.